Before you go to frame your shot, you need to have a good background. An easy idea would be a plain or neutral background. Most neutral backgrounds are a solid color or have a pattern that fills the whole space. If you can't think of a good space that correlates with your topic, these backgrounds are perfect and very easy to find. If you want something a little more interesting, it can be a little more difficult to find a good spot, but if you can find the right spot, it will add more character to your video. A good example for this situation would be an interview with a sports coach. Some good places may be the gymnasium, sports fields, or in a spot that is known for sports. If you plan on interviewing during practice, make sure you inform the players not to be distracting. Distractions can take away from the theme of your video, which is why it sometimes can be difficult when using these backgrounds. Although, if something distracting does happen, just ask your subject if you can do another take. Some other good tips include picking a spot with good lighting. Natural light is the best, but at the very least, make sure you can see your subject without them being washed out. Travel lights were made for this purpose, but unfortunately you won't always have them with you, so it's best to choose good lighting in the first place. Once you find your location, it's time to set up your shot. Although you probably haven't heard the term rule of thirds before, you have probably seen squares similar to this on either your phone's camera or on a regular camera. The squares are used to help guide you when using the rule of thirds. The correct way to frame a shot with this rule is to put your subject's face in either of the two cross sections. When using this rule, your shot should look like this or this. But remember, when you go to film, you won't actually have these lines, so it will be up to you to imagine them. Shots using the rule of thirds are especially good when you're filming interviews or something that you will need B-roll for. But it can make any shot more visually pleasing, which adds to the quality of your video. You can also use the rule of thirds when filming two people. Do the same thing you did before, but use both intersections. This can come in handy when filming the anchors. If you have more than two people, it's best to use the generic shot and center the group. Another important thing to remember when choosing your shot is using the 180 rule. You want to try and imagine a circle around your subject and only use half of the circle. Try to imagine a line cutting this imaginary circle in half, and then try to keep all your shots on the side of that line. Corresponding shots will look like this. Never angle a camera behind your subject unless you are filming an interview or conversation between your subject and another person. Hopefully now you know a little bit more about how to frame your shot correctly. Framing your shot and getting the good background always adds quality to your video, and without that your video may be a fail. So make sure you take these tips into consideration when filming your interviews and B-roll for the broadcasts.